Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. Today on the Observe Day podcast, we're joined by Dr. Christine Boev, a PhD prepared ICU nurse, scientist, and health coach who's on a mission to help women master menopause with confidence and clarity. With a background in health, fitness, and anti-aging, she's built evidence-based systems to help that empower women to thrive through perimenopause and menopause, not just survive it. Dr. Boev combines the science of metabolic health with the art of longevity, teaching women how to optimize their hormones, nutrition, and mindset for strength, vitality, and graceful aging. She's passionate about showing that this stage of life isn't the end of youth, but the beginning of power. Her mantra is simple: live strong, live long, and live well, even past 100. Welcome to the
Yeah.
podcast, Dr. Christine.
Thank you, Wisdom. It's great to be here.
Yeah. When I saw your profile, one of the very first questions that popped up in my head that I was like, oh, if she does accept my invitation, this would be the very first question I would ask her. And that is, what led you to dedicate your career to helping women navigate menopause and aging?
So I don't know how things are in Nigeria, but historically, women in the United States don't like to talk about menopause or perimenopause. They don't like to talk about the struggles, the challenges, what happens to your body as you get older. And when I myself went through the process, I noticed some things change in my body that I was made me very uncomfortable. And I was just not going to accept that I was going to live the rest of my days feeling tired, not having enough energy, just not feeling like myself. So that's what kind of led me on this journey. I was in my like early 40s, like 41, 42, and feeling just generally terrible. So as a scientist, as a nurse, I was like, there's got to be some research. There's got to be some answers to how do you thrive while things are changing internally, and how can you live instead of just kind of get through? And that's what I sought to find out.
Wow. Wow. I always love it when I see people solving problems for others, in business. And I love when I see people who have a business around the product that they first solved for themselves. And they're like, okay, I mean, this will be nice if we turn into a business. And also in the same thing in regards, as a scientist, it's quite inspiring when you see a doctor who's like, my mom, my dad had, this special kind of illness. And so I decided I was going to become a heart doctor, depending on the scenario. It's quite inspiring versus like, why do you want to become a doctor? I just want to save life. And I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Okay.
it's true, helping people get through this, because if you meet women going through perimenopause and menopause, and you probably have family members, people that,
Yeah,
if you see them start to decline, and there it doesn't have to be that way, that there are solutions to these problems, you have
and
an
and
obligation to help people.
curious, Dr. Christine, you mentioned the word decline in this context, right? In the context of this conversation, what do you mean when you say they start to decline?
hmm So what happens, and I won't get too sciency with you
Okay.
guys, but your hormones change, right? So there's three important hormones that you start making a lot less of starting at the age of 35. And those are estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. They just go like a graph, like whoosh, they go way down. And when that happens, you start to feel tired. Your brain doesn't work as well. So like just being able to be sharp mentally and be able to contribute into society, it gets harder. You're tired, you're moody, you're anxious. And the thing that probably brings most women to me is they're gaining weight, and they're doing all the things that they think they're supposed to do. And they come to me and they're just so discouraged. Like, I feel like I'm doing all the right things, but all of a sudden I'm 20, 30, 40 pounds heavier. usually like in the midsection, and I don't feel like myself and I'm embarrassed. I don't want to wear cute clothes anymore. And that's just no way to live. So to me, that's decline for sure.
Yeah. Many women describe menopause as a silent shift. What was your first realization about how misunderstood this stage truly is?
Well, so when I started going through, I would say perimenopause in my early 40s, the first person I talked to was my doctor. And I was like, what is happening and what can we do about it? And at that time, my doctor was like, oh, this is normal. You just need to get through it. And basically, like, suck it up. You'll be fine. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, I'm not accepting that as the reality. So going through the research and understanding, okay, what do women going through perimenopause need to do physically,
Yeah.
movement, nutrition, supplements, and then talking about hormone optimization at some point. But it's super discouraging when people that you look at as authority are like, just deal with it. My parents' generation, my mother, they just dealt with it because that was around the time that the misconception that hormone replacement causes cancer was all the rage, and they didn't have the opportunity to try to balance their hormones. So it's an interesting time, and I think women are finally starting to speak up and advocate for themselves and say, no, like, this is not okay.
Yeah. While you were responding to one of the questions, you were making an attempt to explain what menopause meant. You talked about three hormones: testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen.
Mhm.
I hope I got that right.
You did perfect.
uh, and you said the decline, right? You know, you're a scientist, right? And it's a privilege to have a scientist talk about this topic and not just a woman, right? You're a woman and you're also a scientist. So a scientist that specializes um, uh, in this area. Can you go on and explain what menopause means, in simple terms? What is actually
Mhm.
happening beyond just, the hormones and all those things? Like what is actually happening and where are things changing?
So what's interesting is the way that like men and women age are very different. Okay. So for your male listeners, you guys have it pretty easy. You just slowly start making less and less testosterone, right? Slowly. It's just you don't even really notice it for a long time. With women, the change is very abrupt and it happens quickly. For some women, it happens within like a year or two. For others, like 5 to 10 years. But at a bigger level, what's happening is you are losing your ability to procreate. So your fertility is declining. Your ability to get pregnant is changing significantly. And as a species, we're made to reproduce, right? That's what we're put on this earth. We're supposed to reproduce. And so when you stop making those hormones that allow you to reproduce, you've got to figure out how to keep your body vital because we're no longer able to do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, just I would explain based on what you just said, what I understand, what I understand for what you said, and you let me know if my understanding is on point, right? Menopause. It's like when the menstruation pauses, right? I know why I use the word
Correct.
pause. It's supposed to be meno end because it's not like I don't know, but it pauses, and for menstruation, based on the layman terms, is that when the woman's body release sets of new eggs. In simple terms, I know there's a lot of complex scientific things, but it release new eggs. And so when menopause stops, means the lady stops releasing new eggs. Just the male counterpart, you mentioned the sperm, but for the ladies it's the egg, and so that stops.
Correct, but it stops slowly. Women will notice when around the age of 35, that's when your estrogen starts to drop. And that's also why they call 35 and above like advanced maternal age because you are making fewer eggs every month as
Yeah,
you get older. That's just the fact. That's how we're made. Your cycles, your menstrual cycles may be regular. Some people come to me and they're like in their late 40s and they're like, I have a very regular menstrual cycle. that does not mean that they're not in perimenopause. So
Mm,
what I would
mm,
encourage people is pay attention to your symptoms as well as what's happening with your menstrual cycle. So some of the things that are common, hot flashes, irritability, that brain fog, that's probably the one that I hear a lot of. And then the unexplained weight gain. I'm gaining weight, but I'm doing everything the same. What's happening? And the reason that happens is estrogen is a very thermogenic hormone. It helps us to maintain a good metabolism. And so when that hormone starts to go down, our metabolism also starts to go down. So the amount of calories that we need, just the way that we're, efficient as a person changes. So that's basically what happens. And again, talk to your mother, because as a woman, you usually will follow what happened to your mother when she went through menopause. It's
wow.
not always identical, but it's usually pretty similar.
Yeah. Through your work, what are some of the most common misconceptions you encounter when it comes to menopause, hormones, and aging?
Yeah. The most common misconception is that hormone replacement therapy causes cancer and it's dangerous. And
Sorry,
that
but that was
stems
very
back.
fast. That was so
Sorry.
fast.
Sorry.
Can you take it slowly, please?
Yes.
Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation. Be fast.
Yep. So the most common misconception is that hormone replacement therapy, so taking estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, causes cancer. A
Okay.
lot of people have been told that there was a study in the early 2000s that has since been debunked, but it gained a lot of media attention. And we know now that hormone replacement not only is safe, but it will actually protect your heart, your brain, your nervous system, and hopefully keep you well longer. And now finally we're it's getting the attention it deserves, and more providers are like, "Oh, you need hormones. Okay." Like I understand that now. But it was villainized for a long time. And that's the biggest one. The second one is that you should just deal with it and feel miserable, and that, as a woman that's just what happens. And I just disagree with that wholeheartedly.
You mentioned, prior to you making a statement right now, you did mention at the very beginning of the conversation that you were told why you were going through your own menopause, that deal with it, right? And
Yep.
um, I'm curious, right? You told us uh, what you disagree with, the approach you don't like. I'm curious, what is the approach you prefer? What's the quote unquote word for the approach? Okay, the previous approach is deal with it approach. What is your approach? What are we going to call it?
So, what I think makes the most sense is to adopt a healthy lifestyle that is going to help optimize the hormones that you do make, and
Mm,
really like keep yourself as well and as youthful as long as possible. And what happens as you get older is the way that you used to exercise and fuel your body, it changes as you get older. And so you have to adjust with the changes that are going on physiologically with yourself. And so my approach and how I deal with my clients is we work on really strategic nutrition and fitness and mindset. Now, if you choose to go the hormone replacement therapy route, I think that's amazing. That's a conversation you should have with your doctor to figure out if it's the right path for you. For me personally, I'm on hormone replacement. I feel amazing. And it really was the switch that helped kind of move things in the right direction. But make no mistake, I work really hard. I exercise every day. I eat really well. And I'm very mindful about taking care of my body. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't do any of that stuff because I want to live a long life. and I
Yeah.
want to live a high quality life.
Yeah, so it's not once you press the switch, once you do hormonal replacement therapy, everything's on and done. Do whatever you want to do. That's not really a big deal, right?
Correct.
It's a complete package, right? It's not like, oh, do this and you're good. Well,
Yeah. A lot of
so-
women think, oh, the minute I get on hormones, I'm going to lose the weight, I'm going to feel better. And that's not true. Hormones will help somewhat, right? They'll help get you at least physiologically back to some semblance of normal. But
yeah,
that weight is not going to fall off your body because you're taking estrogen. You have to put the work in.
yeah. Well, now that you say that, it seems simple, clear, it makes sense. But most of the time, it's not that. It's that simple, but for some reason, it's not that simple. How do I explain this? Like it's simple, but when people are processing it in their head, it's not that simple. And I'm glad that
It's
you simplified it. Uh,
Yeah, well, I tell people wisdom, it's simple, but it's not easy. And that's the differentiator. What you need to do is a recipe, right? But a lot of people don't want to follow the recipe because it's hard. And you choose your hard. I think it's a lot harder to be unhealthy and overweight and have high blood
yeah,
pressure and diabetes.
yeah. So far we've been talking about the scientific, the health parts of going through menopause and all that. But then there's also the part that most people don't really talk about, the emotional layer.
Mhm.
Many women feel invisible. They feel, there's a word you use at the beginning of the episode. They feel decline. And when I'm talking about decline, I'm not talking about the physical, biological decline. I'm talking about they feel like their life is coming to an end. That they've given all that they have to give. That it's over,
Mhm.
right? How do you help the women you've worked with? How do you help them rewrite that narrative?
Mhm. Yeah, so the mental challenges that come along with what's happening to your changing body are something that we need to pay really close attention to. It not only the brain fog that I talked about where like,
Yeah,
you're just not as sharp, but also depression, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, wondering what your purpose is now that you've kind of gone through this transition. And what I like to tell women is this is just the beginning. This is such an amazing opportunity. Now you're older, you're wiser, you have so many gifts to give other people to role model. And that's what I talk to my clients a lot about is your purpose is to show your children, your grandchildren what it's like to be healthy, what it's like to prioritize self-care and what it's like to really take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Women, we take care of everybody else, right? We're worried about everybody else and then we put our needs last, and when we show up for them, we're not showing up as our best self. And I think that's an important shift that we need to make is it's not selfish to try to take care of yourself. You're actually doing everybody else around you a huge favor.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Uh, it's I was having a conversation with a different guest on this topic from a different perspective, and one of the things she said about menopause is that if approached correctly, right, it is a new chapter, right? It's like usually people say, oh, in my past life I was a doctor, right? And it's an opportunity to some of the suppressed dreams and all that to chase that. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to turn the page, to have a new chapter. If you were blessed with children, you're watching them grow and be productive citizens. And for me, I hope to have grandkids and great grandkids, and I want to be active and have a really high quality life so that I can continue to help them and teach them everything that I've learned. There's
Yeah.
so much wisdom that we can pass down, but we have to feel good. And if we don't feel good, we're not going to feel particularly wise with giving advice to people.
Yeah, you need to how do they put it now? You need to be being healthy is connects to everything. If you're not healthy and in good health, you can't do great work.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
so true. I work with a lot of women who are executives and CEOs and businesswomen, but their health has been such a non-priority for so long, and it's hard to be respected when you aren't taking care of yourself. It's the highest
Mm,
form of self-love is
mm.
taking care of yourself, and it's so true.
Yeah. 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 Well, if you respect yourself, it's obvious in
Yeah.
conversation when you're having conversation with people. And I'm not just talking about taking care of yourself health wise. I'm talking about generally, right? If you're having a conversation with someone who respects themselves, it's obvious. You see the way they talk, you see the way the boundaries and everything, and you're like, oh yeah, right. And someone who doesn't respect themselves, once they open their mouth and they talk, you start wondering, is this how your mouth was made, or
Yeah.
or you're just talking? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but with self-respect comes high standards.
Yeah.
And I want the women around me to have really high standards for themselves so that they can really see what's possible for them. I don't care how
Yeah.
old you are, you can be 60 years old and start over again. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of taking care of yourself and, living into the triple digits. I think for you and I, that's very possible if you are mindful of the way that you're treating your body, your mind, and your spirit.
Yeah, yeah. One of the exact word you use is something that's very common. The exact phrase, not word. The exact phrase you use is something that's very common with that most medical personnel and other persons they tell women going through menopause, and that is you're like, oh yeah, I'm going through menopause, and then trying to share what you're going through and all that, and like, oh yeah, it's natural, it's biological, deal with it, right? And that's that exact phrase, deal with it. I'm
Mhm.
curious, right? Most people, when they hear menopause, like, oh yeah, it's biological. That's what women are supposed to go through. There's nothing new there. Let her deal with it. And now, from the very beginning of the conversation, we've been on a journey to shift from, oh, it's not from the deal with it traditional approach to a different mindset and a different approach. And in this new approach, what role can we play? When I say we, I mean, partners, families, sons, younger daughters, and all those, how do they call it now? Friends and well wishers.
Yeah, yeah.
And even the corporate and workplace to better support women going through this transition.
Well, first I would say it's a personal decision, how you want to go through menopause.
Okay.
Some people are like, you know what, I'm just gonna go all natural. I'm fine. And that's okay. But I will tell you, as somebody's partner, husband, son, it's hard not to notice some of the challenges that go along with that. Your the mood issue, your interest in intimacy just completely plummets. So you have to be supportive, but also make sure that everyone has the right information. We're so all of the information is available to us. Anything that you need to know, you can find out with the snap of your fingers. And so encouraging people to be advocates for themselves. And, when the first doctor was like, sorry, I was like, okay, I'm done with you. I fired that doctor and I moved on to somebody else because I was like, no,
Yeah.
this is not the way that I'm going to move forward with this. And so having a voice, being an advocate, and then having a good support system that's going to help you regardless of what you decide to do. It's so important.
Yeah. Oh. So far we've been talking about you shared your own story of you going through menopause. If you had to distill your philosophy, right, into three daily habits that can change a woman's life during menopause, what would they be?
The first daily habit is carve out time for yourself so that you can move your body. And what
Okay.
I think, in my opinion, it's get up earlier than everybody else so you can get that done. Um, Getting my workout in the morning sets the tone for the rest of my day. Number two, prioritize sleep. So if I'm going to get up early, I need to go to bed early. And getting enough sleep is so important to make sure that you have a balanced nervous system, that your cortisol's not high. So, carving out time to get your workout in, prioritizing sleep. And then the last one is just fueling your body with nutritious foods and avoiding alcohol at all costs, because alcohol is a toxin. There is zero upside to alcohol, and it's something that you do not need in your life. And so if you can fuel your body nutritiously, get some sleep and get some good movement in, that's going to be a game changer.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing those three daily habits: exercise and nutrition, very good nutrition. I want us to end with you sharing one myth that about aging, right? That you wish every woman could unlearn today. That kinds of how the younger generation they call it, they gives you the ick, right? Once you see people like, I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I would say the one myth about aging is you can absolutely get better as you get older. I have never felt more energetic. I have never been stronger, healthier, in better shape in my whole life than I am at this moment. And I want all of your listeners, male and female, to understand that their potential to have better health as they get older is 1000% possible. You just need to use the right strategies. So I don't believe in declining. And I would say the last thing is you have to keep moving. People that
Yeah,
are sedentary, they don't get their steps in, they're not walking enough, they're going to die. Like, you are going to rot and die. So you have got to get up. You've got to get off the chair. You've got to get moving. Put your sneakers on, go for a walk. It is your lifeline to a high quality life.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for uh uh clearing that myth. Where can listeners or learn more about the work you do and also connect with you?
Yeah. So I have a website. It's called mastermenopause.com. I'm also very active on Instagram, and it's DR, so Dr. Christine Boev. And any of your listeners, any questions that you guys have about hormones, about supplements, about nutrition, just send me a message. I like to teach, I like to educate, I like to help, I like to problem solve, and I feel like that's why God put me on this planet, is to help women to be their best selves as they get older.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Christine, for
Thanks for
having this
having me.
lovely conversation with me. And I feel I liked it, and I know that uh, my listeners, both male and female, are also enlightened about menopause and um, the right approach to it. I feel like we should have named this approach. I was like, the previous approach we call it the deal with it approach. But this new approach, I'm like, I'm looking for a name. I understand the approach, but I'm like, what should we call it?
I'm not
Uh,
sure. I'm not
okay.
sure, but I
Still
love
racking
that
my head.
you're bringing attention to menopause during Menopause Health Awareness Month. It's really important, and it's people like you who have these platforms that are talking about this topic that people didn't used to talk about. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'm glad that you took out your time to have this conversation with me. That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.